Welcome, I am GamerMage0, and today we're going to be looking at more logic gates. Now, instead of actually looking at logic gates themselves, we're just going to be looking about things that have to do with logic gates. So let's start off with diodes. Now, these aren't technically logic gates, but these are going to be things that you're going to be working with when working with logic gates. One of the biggest problems with working with complicated things is that you can have a lot of backfeed. So this is what this is right here. I'm going to show you what I mean by backfeed. So at the moment we have a signal here, so I can flip this on, flip it off, and I'm sure you guys noticed the problem. This right here, this is feeding into this, which is going back and going around and around. So let's go ahead and break that. Now, there's two kinds of diodes. Essentially, a diode only allows a signal to pass one way. So with this gone, this right here can turn on the light, but it doesn't send a signal back through either of these. So this one's the repeater, and this one is using torches in order to do the same thing. So the signal doesn't go into here, which lights this up, which turns off this one, and passes it through. And once we turn this back on, signal comes into this block, which turns off the torch, which allows this torch to turn on, and the signal goes through. Same for that. Signal goes in, it just passes the signal through. And again, just turn it off. Now with this here, you'll think, well, that's stupid, I would just never build this right here. But when you're dealing with a lot of different complicated mechanisms in which you don't want the signal to come back, these are very important. You won't necessarily be running contraptions like these, but you'll see on the sand gate that we're going to do at the end of the episode why that might be a little bit more important. Now, this is a mess, but this mess helps explain the passage of signal from one block through another. So as you notice, I have another diode right here, just to kind of show you guys. Let's go ahead and turn this on. And we get the lights up here powered on. Now, this is interesting. There is no signal being passed down those. Notice that's a staircase, and that's a glowstone. Let's turn this off. What happens if we try and pass the signal up those? Well, that works. And it goes up to those lights. No problem. But signal does not come down. Alright, now let's take a look at something slightly different here. What I would really like to show you also is that this right here, the signal comes through here and then goes up these staircases. Pretty easy and simple, right? This is one way to get your power up. But what if you need to pass the signal through a smaller area? Well, this right here would work as well. So why do I have switches up here? Well, real quick here, let me note one other thing. The signal does not pass down from these half slabs either. It passes up, but it doesn't pass down. So, same thing here. You can see the signal being spread to this one right here because of the redstone lamp, but it does not go down. Over here, this, however, will pass the signal down. Now the signal wasn't strong enough to get over here because we're going through too many lines. Only goes through 15, I believe. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wait a second. Actually, it was enough. It is lighting it up. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, might as well show that to you guys now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Let's add on a 16th. It's not what I want to do. There you go. 15 blocks, not 16. Redstone repeaters just take whatever signal it is and they repeat it back out. And the nice thing is they repeat it back out at full strength, so it can go another distance. Alright, we'll leave that there. Now, something else that I found really interesting is these falling edge and rising edge detectors. Now, and let's do a rising edge detector to start off with, so we'll just do this. What is a rising edge detector? Well, essentially, when the signal comes through here, it's going to hit both of these repeaters at the same time. Now, this one is going to be able to pass the signal through, because it's going to take one tick for it to go through this block to the other side. This one's going to take 4 ticks, because I just hit 1, 2, 3. And it starts with 1 tick, so 3 back is going to be 4 ticks total. We'll then launch this block forward. So what we get is it detects the rising edge of it and sends a pulse through. Now, what about a falling edge? Well, it does exactly the opposite. Notice the redstone configuration is the same, or the repeater configuration is the same, but the piston's facing the opposite direction. You can just do that by flip-flopping this as well. So, turn it on, nothing happens. Signal got there too late for it to be able to pass through the block. Turn it off, and this is still holding a signal long enough for once the block comes back to pass it through to the other side. So that means that every time you flip the switch, if you have both of these connected, it's going to send out a pulse. Now, this can be really nice for certain kinds of contraptions. One thing that I've used it before on is you do this on something like a redstone wall here to send forth a signal the way you want it to go through. Now, also, I've hooked these up to those XOR switches before, so that way it flip-flops certain things, and that's pretty nice as well. So let's go ahead and actually go over to this. Now, what is this? This is a sand door. So you can make a door as big as you want. So I wanted to show you how you do it by hand to start with, and then we're going to build one. So we're going to just do the outside. There we go. Now let's actually make a ground level. That's not pulling out. There we go. Now all of these are sticky pistons, so that way they can pull down the block that is directly above it. Now, dealing with the Windows 10 or the Pocket Edition has some different effects. I used to use repeaters here, so that way that it would send the signal directly towards the block I wanted, but I found that it doesn't have the same effect that I needed to have, and these have a much better effect. So at the end of the day, I ended up having to rethink this and figure out what actually worked. So how do we close it? Well, we can start here and work our way down on the right side. Notice that came down, then it pulled down this, then this. Now we're gonna pull down this one and then this one. Alright, so now the bottom, that bottom one, we never need to touch this one again. So let's go back up. Now we need to follow a rule of thumb now. Wherever this red line is, the sticky piston's top must come right next to. Otherwise you're going to mess this up, because if we light this side up instead, I don't think this one's going to cause a problem, but down more towards the middle it starts causing a problem. So we'll launch that up and pull it back down. Now in this case we'll do the right side again, right side again, right side again. Now so far we've only done the right side, but what happens if we do the right side here? Oh, that worked. What about this one? And this one? This is where things get problematic. I have no idea what causes that. This is where things get really weird with the Pocket Edition / Windows 10 version or live, things get messed up, and I'm not entirely sure why. The updating or something, and it just does not work out very well. Alright, so I'm not sure if I can fix this at this point. Let's see. Let's try. Let's see. We'll send that up. Nah, I think it's all messed up now. This one back here. Let's see. Can we tell where it's coming from? Yeah, it's this one. This one's just completely skipped. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and start from the bottom. These are all here, so we'll just launch these all back up. There we go. Okay. Now I'm just going to use this side to make sure that I'm not messing it up. And that's why I wanted at the top, like these two tops to match. Now that these sides are matching, I'm going to use this side. And there we go. Now we can walk across. So this can get really complicated when you're trying to deal with this, because if I just did one or two, that might be really easy. But now that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, that's going to get really complicated. Oh, and I didn't even explain why these are angled out. Notice it's every other one. If I put one here and put a switch on it, it actually cross-contaminates the signal. So, in order to avoid that, and since I'm putting switches directly on these, I had to be very careful about how I placed these. Alright, so anyways, let's go ahead and work out how we're going to actually deal with the signal. Now, sending a signal up shouldn't be too much of a problem, because we turn one after the other on, and that's going to be easy enough. Now, what's really going to be a problem is how we go from there. So let's start on the side over here. Now, we know that we want this one to go very first. So we're going to need to start counting our ticks, essentially. And we need to be careful, because if our ticks go too fast, it could cause problems as well. And we'll find out where that is in this. So this is going to be 2 ticks. I'm going to space it by 3. Yeah, let's go with that. So that way they're 2 ticks separated. Alright, so we're going to do 4, 5. There are other ways to do this, by the way, to pass the signal up. You could use one repeater after another to swirl it up. I just find that that one can get a bit messy. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just keeping track of what you're doing can be a problem. So that one's 4, 5, 6, 7. Four, 8, 9. Alright, and then we have our top, so that should be as far as we need to go. So we have 9. Now, this is where we don't need as much. We just need to make sure that we have... Actually, we can do a few things here. Let's implement some of the things we learned earlier in this video. Okay, so that should be the same. Okay, so I'm just worrying about right here. Oops, don't know why I threw that. Anyways, let's get a half slab. I'm going to make this one a slightly different color, so that way we kind of see what's going on. So, oops. Here, let's fill in the gaps for the moment. There we go. And then we can break them. So then just every other one. Here, let me pick that up. Then we can break these. Those are just there to hold it. Oops. And I had to break that one. Alright, there we go. So now I'm probably just going to step this down here. I'm not sure how I want to do this just yet, but we'll just... Let's see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this is our maximum here. We want there to be as few tick delays as possible. Because now, this one isn't going to be 1 tick, this one's going to be 2 ticks. This one's going to be 4, because this one right here is going to delay it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put a switch down here, and let's see what happens. Nice. Now, what's going to happen when we turn off the power? Let's find out. Well, does that have the effect we want? No, we could probably go in a slightly different direction, because if you remember, we turn these on going up and then turn them off coming back down, and it pulled them down, right? Let's try that. Let's see. And that's part of the reason why I have these here manually, so we can see what's going on. So these are all on now. Well, yeah, and we want to get to that state there, so we need to just turn them off in reverse order, right? So what are we going to do for this one? Well, for this one we can do exactly the opposite of what we did before. Actually, actually I had another idea. So I mentioned before that I might actually, you could send a signal up. Well, what if you just send the signal back down? Oh, that's going to get kind of complicated. But hey, let's try it out. That's what this video's for, right? Alright, so how do we want to do this one? Okay, so first of all, this is where a diode's going to be very important, because we don't want a signal to come back through. I'm going to need to do it like this. Here we go. Okay, so for example, we're going to be sending signals to this. We're going to be lining up signals that we're going to be sending to these rows, because we're going to need to signal these differently. These first 2 signals that we're going to send it to send everything up and then send everything back down in this position can be handled in a little bit of a better way than just triggering them by timing it out like I was initially doing. So in this case, but we don't want the signal from here to go into here and trigger everything back up. Let's see. Okay, now is just doing this going to be enough? Because we send in a signal. These are going to, now for the points, for counting the difference in ticks between each one, these are going to cancel themselves out, because as the signal comes through here, by the time it takes to send through here, like on the top layer that I'm on here, it'll even out with this one down here. So really, we just have one tick so far separating these two. So if we do this instead, that should separate it from these by at least 2 ticks instead of 1 tick. So let's do that. Now we have one other problem. If I put a block here, it's going to cut that off. So I may have to change how I'm doing this. Huh. There's a traitor. Alright, we'll want this to be 2, that to be 1. I'm not sure how that's going to work. If we have to keep rotating it to get it out of the way. It's going to be weird. I have another idea real quick here. You know what, we can actually do this, and this will make this so much faster while we're playing around with this. Let's just complete our sequence. Okay, now we can mess around with the half slabs. Oops. And see if we can get this to do what we want it to. So guess we won't need one here. Don't know I'm doing that there. Okay. Alright. Now just need to pass it up one more slab. I don't need to put the slabs here, but I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to see into this. Excuse me. Alright. Alright, so now this looks like a mess that's not going to work. I was thinking just maybe. So I was thinking it was going to pass signals up here, but this one's too close to it. This signal is not only going to get past there, but it's going to get past there. And it's just going to step all the way up like this. Well, that's a shame. Alright, so one other way that we can do this, essentially, is we'll pass one up like this. Not like that. Like that. That might even be better. Okay. And then this one can come out. This is still not going the way I thought it would. And here we have a problem. Wow, who knew this would be so difficult? Maybe it's just me that's making it so difficult. We could just do an every other thing. Wait, I'm forgetting something. Oh, actually, that's not a big deal. Okay. Okay, that one's going around this side, this one's going around this one, then this side, then this side. Alright, so now this back here has the 2, so it's going to take 2 to get in, and then 1 tick after it sends the signal here. It'll reach this, which will take 2 ticks, and then 1 tick afterwards. So I was saying earlier that these would cancel each other out. They don't really, because then it still sends a signal up here and takes a second or a tick longer to go through the next one. Alright, so we'll just build a bunch of these here. Alright, so that has that part built out. So now how do we do the next one? I think for the next one we're going to need a diode in on each one. Alright, probably don't need this much, but just want to make sure that I have enough room. Alright, let's see. Now, we need this signal to come this way, and we're going to have something similar. But then we're going to have to back off and go the other way. So let's just build out. So we'll still build one for each one of those. But this time we'll have it going this way. Don't know if we'll need one there. We'll just build one there just to be sure. Okay. Alright, so now what we're planning on doing is as the signal comes on, it will go this way. As the signal goes off, it will stop sending a signal through all of these, and as it's coming through, it'll stop sending a signal here. So that'll take 1 tick, and then a second later, another tick. Probably want to space this by 1 more tick, just to make sure that the signal comes through here last before it starts coming through here. I know I have these here, and I could just go down and make these a tick longer, but I want to be sure to control the signal going to all of these down here by being able to do one of these. Otherwise I could just do that one manually for each one, but this is going to help me separate these two processes and control those. Okay. So now the signal will come here, And as it's letting out, it should let out to that one. Move down here, let off on that one. Come down here, let off there. Let off there. Actually, oops. Don't need these. All right, let's test it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Hey, that will work. All right, now, and I just muted the mic real quick so I could cough. Okay, we won't need these. All right, let's test it out. Now, it shouldn't matter what position these are in, because if it starts with the bottom one, it should just send them all up. There we go. Now, will it come back to the position we had it in? Yeah, there we go. So now this looks like a mess, but really all it is smaller pieces of what we have over here already. Alright, so now I'm going to make a second part for this. I believe this video's gone on long enough. We have 40 minutes of mostly me trying to figure out how in the world to do this. But if this is helping you guys out with figuring out how to do your own redstone contraptions, then this is definitely going to be the way you want to watch this. So otherwise you can blast towards the end and I can just kind of show you a little bit. But have the signal coming through here, so let's put that back in. Signal comes up through here, swirls back and forth from one side to another. Passing the signal, these delay it by 2 seconds, or 2 ticks each, not seconds, sorry. Then sends it up, then comes over here, and then releases the signal bit by bit. So if you noticed, it took it a moment before it came back down. You can kind of see it going all the way up the tower and back down. Alright guys, so now, what we used on this one were the diodes, and passing the signal through different levels of block. We used this information here to make sure that we didn't make a mistake. So how does the rising edge and falling edge come into play here? Well, we'll find out more next time. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit like, subscribe if you liked it, and then also hit the notification bell if you want to hear any more. Thank you guys very much. See you next time.